Welcome to Flory Models. I'm Philip Flory. Today we're going to be building Kitty Hawk's 1/35th scale MH-6 Little Bird. Now, if you know me at all, you'll know I have issues, shall we say, with Kitty Hawk. I don't think it's all Kitty Hawk's fault. I just think they take their eye off the ball and they rush their kits out a little bit. So in the past we've had problems, shall we say, with some of their kits going together, bad instructions, quality of the actual plastic, the design of how it goes together, things like that have always led to issues. That's not to say I hate Kitty Hawk totally, because the thing is, a lot of my negativity, shall we say, is born out of frustration, because they do really, really good, interesting subjects that just unfortunately just fall short. They're not up there yet to be one of the mainstream companies that you would think, I'm going to build their kit, because let's face it, some of the stuff we have built, and we have, the Jaguar for instance, beautiful kit, goes together very, very nicely. Unfortunately though, that's if you have it all opened up. If you want to close it up with all the panels closed, none of them fit and it's a nightmare. So from that point of view, you are sort of pigeonholed into certain things you can do with the kit, even though it might give you options to do others. They're not really options because it won't go without a lot of hassle. This particular kit though has been on my sort of radar now for some time, and it's actually been in my stash now for many, many months, and I've been waiting to get on with it, purely because Kitty Hawk are getting better with each release. They do outsource a lot of their sort of, you know, research and design and certainly production stuff. This one we know isn't totally Kitty Hawk's own stable. It has been outsourced, and a lot of research has come from other companies, so I'm hoping that they've got it right, and then that has followed through right the way through the actual tooling phase and then out to production. But the only way of knowing that is if we actually build it, so that's why we want to do this one. So without further ado, let's see if we can get Kitty Hawk back in a good place with me, certainly, and we're going to build the little bird. Okay, so it begins straight away. Yeah, we're back to Kitty Hawk. We've got a lot of flash to deal with, so we've got some of the parts. We can show you just down here. We're currently working on the engine, but you can see we've got huge amounts of flash just down in here like that, that really, you know, it's easy cleanup, it's just annoying it's got it. Okay, so some of the parts you can get away with putting them together and then sanding them all in. So down in here, this is just the exhausts from the turbine. Okay, so these again, we're going to basically put it together and then paint it as a whole, if that makes sense, because we can get away with using metals and metallizers and a little bit of hand painting. Okay, but the big thing is, and there's a couple of them I'll just point out, and then you can, obviously you'll find them as you make your own, but little things like, for instance, this, we've got this plate down in here. This plate is actually C47 for part of the engine, but you should notice there's a hole missing. It is there, so I'm actually just going in with a reamer and popping open all these holes, because otherwise you come along with a part and you're thinking, okay, we got the part, but it won't go in, and then obviously you do that and it does go in. Other good example is this little guy here, bearing in mind I thought that this giant chunk on the end here was actually part of it. No, that's actually just a bad tab. So again, the easiest way to probably start this off is come in with some snips, cut it almost down and flush, and then we can just come in the back and just give it a light sand. Okay, and that takes care of it, because this part goes on here, and without it you're thinking, how the hell is that all supposed to go? Okay, so then this drops in the back here and this completes the back end. But until you sort of figure these out of like, what is it, what's the difference between a huge lump of flash and anything else, and to be honest, on here we've put this guy together as well. This is C8 on the front here, this big back part is C40, okay, and then these, again, one of them had a hole, one of them didn't. Okay, so we're already into that realm of like just being careful and things like that. This little guy is a barrel full of fun. This is actually down in here, which is B17 is the back part, and then on the side you've got B15, 16, and B1 is this tiny one at the front. Again, there's no actual pinholes to put them in, so you have to sort of just cut them off and put them in there and do it like that. First time I've ever used a magnifier. I needed it to do this, but anyway, that's in there like that. Okay, the only part that's not too bad is down in here. We've actually got the main turbine itself. So a little bit of cleanup, and to be honest, the plastic is good. We don't have any real problems with the plastic going together, but what I'm trying to do at the moment is just get some of the assembly all together. Now the big thing that has been a criticism of this kit, and obviously I read it online, is that there is no colour call outs for anything in this as normal, but to be honest with you, it's not so much of a problem. I'm going to be using this right the way through. So this is MRP Helo Drab. Okay, so it's FS34031. It's basically the Black Hawk colour. And as you can see, it's heavy pigment on this one. But when it comes together, it is going to be this sort of dark, muddy brown colour. And to be honest, when you look at the box art, as you can tell, the entire thing is sprayed in it. So what we're going to do is basically build this almost as a whole, with the exception obviously the glass work. And then we can go in and pick out all the areas which aren't. But to be honest, there isn't a lot. A lot of it is black, but then by the time we're going to do the dirty weathering, it's going to end up very much like this. So I'm inclined at the moment to literally paint everything. But a lot of people have said about the interior, it's all the same colour. So really you can just get in there and blast it right the way through. So at the moment, down in here you can see we're actually working on the engine, so we're going to pop all this together, do it as a whole, and then down on the front here we've got this engine set and everything else. So what we're going to do is build this back part all together without the engine, and then the engine we're going to paint a different colour, okay, and then we can go in here and detail it, perhaps a little bit of wiring where it's required, but certainly picking out little bits of colour. So we'll have a look at references and things like that, and then we can move on to actual cockpit. So we just put a few of these bits together, things like that, but again, it's all going to be this sort of normal sort of halo or sort of helo colour drab right the way through on this one. So it is that sort of browny, horrible colours. So I won't worry too much about colour call outs. And again, we're going to be doing this one as a really dusty, war-torn bird. It's going to be pretty much muted colours right the way through, especially when we come in with weathering. But off the bat, I just wanted to point out, flash, you've got loads of it. Ejector pins, yeah, they're in there too. And also you've got the trouble with some of these location tab pins are massive, and you look at them and you're thinking, like that we just seen, that's got to be too big, it must be me, but oh no, it's not, it's just down in there. So what I'm going to do is just carry on for a moment, get some of these parts together. So the chances are I'm just going to work on this back section, but we will build the engine, get that together, but we won't actually install it because that will be a different colour. Obviously that'll be in metals, but the rest of it, the framework, stuff like that, then obviously that won't be, and we can spray that as a whole when it comes together before we put the two halves together. Okay, so we're pushing along really nicely. We've done lots of little bits, so let's show you what we've done. So you can see down on here, we got part 3. So we've done a little bit to part 3, so we just put the two halves together, which is these. And then we've got panels and various things to go on, but we're thinking they're going to probably be black, so we can paint them afterwards. Okay, so that's those ones down in there. And then down on here, we've moved down. So as you can see, this part here we put in A43, that's on the back, okay, and then if we flip it over on the front, you can see we've got A37, that's that tiny bit just at the top there, okay, and then we've got this one B26 which has been put on, okay, and then just down on here you might see we've got B31, which is two of these, which are obviously I think harness clips, which is down on both sides of that one, so that completes this area just here. We've also gone along and started to work down on here. So we've got B59, B62, that's the collective, which is just going to go down here on the front, which sits down there, and then we've got B45, which sits on the top, very, very straightforward. And then that can technically be attached, if you wanted to, just down in here like that. Okay, so that's going to sit on the front in there, just like that, completes that area. Again, because it's all going to be painted this same colour, then we're going to go in and pick out our hand details and things like that. So we've still got the seats, and we've still got a few little bits and pieces to go on here. So the seats as well, they can just go in if you wanted to. Obviously we're not going to put guns and things like that in there yet, but we've got a couple of seats to go in. We're talking about those at the moment. Pedal system, again, very complicated, and to be honest, it's got an awful locating area. So this is those here, and the actual tab is right in the middle. So actually what I did, I heated up a needle. So I've got an old needle just down in here. So we literally just came along with a flame, heated it up, melted it, and then we actually ran it across these here just to get rid of them, because you can't physically get in there to cut them out. Then we just come along with a little rat's tail file just to smooth them out down on there. Again, really complex. I can understand the theory of having them as in 3-part units, but who's going to care? Because literally if the aircraft's at idle, they're going to be basically the same. But in theory, if you were airborne, I suppose, and holding in the hover, perhaps you're going to have the pedals, you know, obviously offset to compensate the torque at the top. But anyway, those are there like that. That's actually done now, so that's just going to come along. And then in theory, again, you just have to watch these little things. They're absolutely everywhere, these big tabs. So I'm literally been just coming in and cutting them off just like that. We've got another one just down in here, because they can and are interfering with stuff as we make our way through. And then a quick sanding job just to take out the sprue tabs. I thought I'd done this one actually, but I also missed two. Okay, so they're at a slight taper, so that's those. Okay, So with those in, it's actually going to come underneath. So you've got these little tabby areas, and you've got these little tabs here. So what's going to happen, in theory, they're going to come up through. I'm going to come in just like that. So we'll just roughly sit that there till we can get a bit of glue in there just to hold. There we go, location, and then they're just going to go in. They're going to fit in just like that. Okay, so we can just come along, drop of glue, just like that, which is then going to put those in. So we just want to square that up so it's at 90 degrees. And that's our pedals in there. I'm checking we've got that around the right way. Sorry, actually I think have we put the pedals on back to front? Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's alright. So that's those in there, literally just like that. Okay, I'm just checking, making sure we have got those pedals around the right way. Yeah, it looks like we have. I'm just checking. And that's it. So those are on there just like that. Okay, so that's that section taken care of. Okay, and then when we move over to the other side, as you can see, then we're talking down in here about the side. So if you want the boarding ladders, so you got the side ladders on there as well for obviously sitting crew on, or you're going to do the gunship version. So obviously that's your option between two here. We're going to do the gunship version. There is the other kit available now, which comes this one with the figures that sit on the side. So if you did want the crew on the side, you could go down with that option. Okay, so once we've got that section in, we can start about bringing this together and getting this center section all in one. Then we're going to think about paint right there and then, purely so we can get in amongst it then and hand detail, hand paint, hand weather, everything on the inside before we come into the outside. And then we can get the outside and repaint the entire of the outside. So what I'm going to do now, we're going to carry on here. We're just going to finish off those seats, get these areas installed into this one. Again, if I find anything, I'll certainly let you know. Then we can work on the actual gunship area with the ammo cans and everything in the back. We can get those sorted, and then we can think about getting these first sections all together. Okay, coming on really, really nicely. To be honest, no problems at all. So as you can see down in here, we've got the gun deck with the pylons. To be honest, you have got little tabs just down in here, and it goes in, and there's a step. But looking at the box art and looking at a reference photo, there is no step. So I don't know quite what that is. So anyway, we've chopped them off and we just put those in as well. Now, these might look like pylons just under here, but they're not. They're actually what they're going to sit on. It's actual mounts that are going to go down into the cabin floor. So the fuel tank system is on the back, and obviously we've got these two down in here like that. That's literally as simple as this. Just here. So you've got C1 and 2 go on the sides. This is upside down clearly and open up there. You are going to have to open up the floor if it was the same for me, because to be honest, there was no markings for it. So we've opened those up and then we've actually fitted it in there correctly. And it should have a small little gap just running underneath, as you can see there. Now, we've also put in the actual instrument panel. We haven't put the dials on yet because we're going to spray those separate in black, but we have fitted that in the front now. So it's starting to take that cabin shape that we're all sort of used to. And this one then is going to come in and it is going to fit over here. So you've got a series of little feet, little grooves and cutouts down in here. They are going to go actually onto this ribbing area. It's a little bit sort of wayward of how it actually goes. Okay, so literally it just will sit into the last bar. That's why I've sort of done it this way in. So this bar down the back that runs just down in here is where the first groove at the rear is going to go, and then so forth and so on as you make your way forward. Now there is a tiny little step for it. Okay, so if you've got it right, just down at the back here, it should, the corners pop into it. Okay, it is a little bit guessy on how it goes, and to be honest, it's very much guesswork how these go as well. And I'm wondering if mine are just a little bit too far apart, because quite frankly, when we line them up, you can see we got them stepped out a little bit too far. I'm thinking these two should be in a little bit closer, lining up with this box. Again, we have that trouble where we're not sure exactly how it goes because the instructions are pants. Okay, so what we're going to do is show you about relocating. So what we're going to do is going to add some extra thin each side on both. Okay, and this is how you're going to get away with moving these. So that's down in there now. All we're going to do is gently rock it, and then hopefully it'll detach. Okay, and that's it. So now we can then work this into the proper location as it is now, and obviously you won't do this because you've seen me do it, and it is the same as the actual rear gun deck, or the ammunition storage for the miniguns, for the 20mm guns, is going to be just down in here. Well, I think it's 7.62 on these actually. So exactly the same, and then again, just give it a little wiggle, and what it does is basically unweld your hard work. Okay, so where you've put it in before, it should just undo it. So hindsight is a wonderful thing in this hobby, as we all know, but if you've ever wondered about what to do when you glue something in the wrong place, you just do that. Okay, so that's in there now and it's in position, but obviously we can't stick that down and in there because otherwise it might foul the actual areas and make them move. But just to do a test fit before it dries now, we're looking to see, and we've got these two little slots, we've got one here and one here. Now if you look, these feet fit perfectly into them. Okay, and if they don't, what you can actually do is just take this little guy and just straighten them in, so now they do fit in there exactly how it's supposed to be. And to be honest, I'm just going to fudge it a little bit, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue in just to hold these in and start the weld action going. And we're just going to pop a little bit down the back, and then this is literally just to start it on its merry little way of welding all of this in. Okay, but again, it's one of those areas, and if you don't want to get glue everywhere, use your choppy board like this, and it should all just sit in there. Okay, so we're just trying to get those to stand on the correct locations. So we're going in, we're making sure we're happy. Those look like they're good now, and it fits in. It's all square and taken care of. The only thing is we've got a slight lean to this pylon at the back here, so we're strengthening that up, and that puts it in just like that. Again, a little bit of a pain just to get all that to fit in there like that, but literally that's how it's going to go. All right, so being a little bit mindful, we got various things. I still haven't put the seats on and all the little bits yet, because we can put those in afterwards, because obviously I think the seat's going to be a slightly different color. But again, we've got these holes down in here, and again, they're a little bit not the best, shall we say, a little bit flashy, some of these items, so we're just coming in with a blade just to clean and open those up, and then hopefully this little guy will slide just in here. Again, normally you would wait a little bit because we're moving these around and we don't want to quite put these just down into position yet. So what I'm going to do, because I don't want to move this around, but that's how it's going to go. It's just going to come in here and it's going to sit in there just like that. Okay, so that's going to sort of hold in there like that. And then to the rear, we've got this one. It's going to go over the back, and then that's obviously going to come forward and then link up to the front. And that's how it's all going to sort of fit in there just like that. It's a little bit technical at the moment, and it's a little bit wet. What I want to do is be just a little bit careful how that is seating and going down, because that needs to be accurate and put in. If that's not square and in location, it's not going to fit through the doors, and that's going to be an issue if you need to start moving things around at a late stage. So that's why we're going to leave that one literally just like there for the moment. You might notice down on here we've actually put this over the top, so this is the actual shaft for the actual entry area. So this little guy just needs to go in here as well, so this can just pop in. We haven't quite glued this down yet, we spoke about it a little bit before, and then that's going to go in there like that. Okay, so that can sit in, bit of a nudge to get that down and in, and that's obviously just the shaft coming up from the underside of the engine, because the engine is actually counterlevered upwards, so that's actually going to come up and it's going to be in here like this, and that's going to come through. So that's actually showing you the actual shaft from the helicopter, whichever direction that one goes in, can't remember now. Okay, so that's that one in as well, just like that. So we can think about getting that one in and installed in a moment. So we just pop that down there. So what we're going to do, let that dry, get the seat area, we can put that one in, and then we can actually think about first bit of paint going on here, just to get that initial colours in there. Then we can go in there and do the detail work and everything else, start working on the cockpit, because it is quite modular. So when this does go in there, like this, as you can see, by the time that's all gone in there, you end up with this sort of situation with the entire section done. We can then pre-paint the inside of these as well. We can think about closing it up, and to be honest, that's a good chunk of the build already done. Okay, so we are down in here. You see front seats installed and put in. They're dead simple, just put the bottom plates in, and then obviously the way I did it was just tuck it into the framework and then up, and that's those installed, and we've put that in now, so it's all starting to take shape, definitely down here at the front end. The engine one, to be honest, I'm not sure about actually properly fitting it, but we can test fit it just to see how this is going to go. And actually, to be honest, during test fitting here, considering everything does seem to be lining up. So basically what you got is the 2 feet down the bottom, and then this guy is going to come in the top, and he's just going to come in up here. The reason I haven't actually fitted it in here properly yet is that I'm just worried about painting in there, because we need to get in there and paint and weather, and I'm thinking with this bit off and separate, that would just be a lot easier. And obviously we've got to do the engine yet, so we've got a little bit of clean-up work to do on the pipes, on the exhaust on that. Now that's dry as well. But there we go, that's the cockpit section actually in and done. We haven't done harnesses yet because we're going to do a lot of hand painting in there, a little bit separate, and obviously with those instrument panels, the multifunction displays on the side, things like that, they're all going to go in a moment after it's had its proper coat. But that's just drying, that's the back bit done. So what we're going to do, tidy up a little bit of work on the engine. So we've got a little bit of sanding work to do just down here on some of these seams, now that these have dried and gone in. So we can just get in here and just sand some of these off and just tidy these up just a little bit. Okay, just in like that, and we've got to do the same on the other side, so just down in there, because as I said, we're going to paint the engine separate to actually being fitted in. Then we're going to add a little bit more plumbing to it, a little bit more wiring, just to liven it up, as on really a lot of the model anyway. Just a few things just to keep it busy by just doing a little bit more detail work. But there we go, that's the cockpit section all done. And to be honest with you, couple of little ejector pin marks, couple of little dodgy instruction placements, things like that, but generally it's going together really well.